Hello, everybody, and welcome to Commissioner's Corner. I am Martine LaRocque-Ulick of the Burlington School Board. I represent Ward 4, which is the neighborhood that includes the J.J. Flynn School. And we've been on kind of a long hiatus, a couple years. It's been a couple years since I've been in this seat, so it feels good to be back. Let's see. One of the reasons that we were on a hiatus, as you all know, is that we have been experiencing a pandemic. So that happened, March of 2020, and we immediately kind of closed down our Commissioner's Corner at the time. And then, of course, in the fall of 2020, our high school was closed down due to PCB contamination. So that was just a huge shock to the system. Our students had to leave, our teachers and staff had to leave the high school, and our BTC students needed to find a home. So we've been obviously dealing with a lot between the pandemic and the closure of our tech center and our high school. There's been a lot going on. So in the interim, as many of you know, we got support from the governor, and our superintendent led the charge to move our high school into the former Macy's building. We now call it Downtown BHS. And our tech center has been able to find locations around the city and around the county to house their programs. So it's been a heavy lift, but I feel as though it's been very positive thus far. And we have some more heavy lifts coming in our near future that I will be talking about a little bit today. But really today is a focus on new commissioners. So this Commissioner's Corner and then the next one as well will be an opportunity for us to meet some of our new commissioners that were just elected this past March. So this evening, I'm really happy to welcome our new commissioner from Ward 5, Lucia Campriello, and we're just going to have a conversation this evening.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Martine. It's really nice to be here. This is my first time here at the Commissioner's Corner, and I look forward to joining upcoming conversations as well.
Well, welcome. I'm really happy you're here, and I look forward to speaking with you. We've only met a few times. We've had one meeting together, and this is just going to be really great for me as well as the public. So, yay. Very excited. I thought I would just start by getting a little bit of a bio, a little bit of what your story is. If you could just tell us who you are, where you come from, what you're up to, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. So I live in Burlington, South End. And as you mentioned, I'm representing Ward 5 residents on the school board, which includes the Champlain Elementary School as its physical school building in the ward. My husband Joe and I are parents to two young children. My older daughter Angeline is finishing up second grade in Miss Hannah Brody's class at Champlain Elementary School, and my younger daughter Sophia will enter kindergarten this coming fall. In fact, we've got kindergarten orientation on Wednesday, which we're all looking forward to. And so that's who we are just as a family. For fun, we spend as much time as possible outdoors, which I know many families with young children are prone to do, but especially really have taken advantage of all that Burlington has to offer during these past 2 years when we have felt safest outside. So that includes everything from enjoying the bike path, visiting one of many Burlington beaches, biking to Lake Monster games, skiing, paddleboarding. Right now, soccer and t-ball are keeping us most busy on the weekends, which is a good time. And then professionally, I'm a senior leader at Let's Grow Kids, which is a statewide organization leading a campaign to solve Vermont's childcare crisis. And then lastly, I would just offer that personally, I really enjoy supporting community work, and I do that through a number of volunteer capacities, both with local organizations like the school district, as well as with statewide organizations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I love that professionally you have these bookends of childcare and, pre-K, early ed, and then, throughout this whole K through 12 district, and then, the high school as well. So you really cover a lot of ground in terms of child development and education. So that's wonderful. Thank you. My next question, given that I started the show this evening mentioning some of the challenges that we've had the last few years. And those are just a few, because there are others that are happening nationwide throughout the state. I could go on. But given these challenges, I'm just wondering, what made you want to run for school board?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you highlighted kind of one of the things that drives me most, which is that I really see education as the cornerstone of a healthy community. I see that in my work daily as an advocate for equality and equity within Vermont's 0 to 5 childcare system. And I largely see the role as school board commissioner as a continuation in some ways of that work as an advocate for, again, quality and equity in our educational system. As a parent with young children who are at the very start of their public school careers, I'm excited to represent the views of parents like myself who are entering the school system. And really looking forward to joining the organization at what feels like an inflection point, both with increasing stability as kind of a foundation that we are fortunate to be moving forward upon, and then also with, as you mentioned, a lot of challenges and opportunities on the near horizon. So looking forward to joining what feels like a really solid team that works well together, particularly well at so far navigating what have been some extraordinarily challenging circumstances in the last couple years.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're very happy to have you. Did you want to talk? I think you're active in the NPA in your ward.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I have served as a steering committee member for the Neighborhood Planning Assembly in Ward 5 for a couple of years. In fact, it was through the NPA that I had the good fortune to meet and grow close with Mike Fisher, who held the role of Ward 5 school board commissioner prior to my election. And so I've really enjoyed that work as both an introduction to my immediate community and also as an opportunity to connect more directly with the city of Burlington. So it's been really good to get to know neighbors and I think just have a closer understanding of all of the many moving parts that that make a city work and that make a community vibrant.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So as you take on the work of the school board as one of the commissioners, I'm wondering what you would like to most focus on, what you plan to really dig into.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think, I think everybody is really familiar with our current BHS BTC project. I know you've been working intimately on that project for a number of years now. I am incredibly excited to participate in upcoming conversations. We made a recent decision just at the end of last month. We made the decision to pursue one of 5 conceptual designs. It's an excellent choice. It is the right choice for the district, and I'm excited to throw my energy and attention into moving that conversation forward. We know that in November we'll have a bond vote, and that we've got a lot of work to do between now and then to support our superintendent to develop a financing plan for that project and to support the community engagement that we intend to do in the coming months so that folks feel as energized as we all feel, and also that they have an opportunity to express their questions, any concerns they may have, and ways they'd like to be engaged and help move the conversation forward. So I'm most excited to participate in those conversations, and it's a good body of work between now and November, and then of course after November as well.
Yeah, it's a heavy lift, but it's definitely, as you said, it's going to take the whole community to come together on this one. I do want to remind folks that this is a call-in show, and that you are welcome to call in and ask a question of Lucia, or ask a question of me, or maybe you have something that you just want to share. But do feel free to call in. And I don't know if we've got the number available for folks to call, but I'm sure you can find it online if it's not readily available to you. So my next question for Lucia is, what do you like most about the Burlington School District? I know it's early days sort of for your family in the district in terms of your children being fairly young, but what so far has really stood out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the overall guiding priority of reducing disparities and really closing the achievement gap across all of our student groups is incredibly empowering and inspiring. It's definitely what I like most. I think that it helps give shape to all of the work that we do together as a team. with an eye toward ensuring that every student can be as successful as possible and fulfill their full potential. So I like that we name that as a priority and really as a guidepost, and that all that we do as a district and as a community drives toward those two goals. So that feels really exciting. And yeah, it's funny because we are so new to the school system, and also the majority of our time in the school system has been during COVID. So my daughter Angeline was in kindergarten. She entered kindergarten in the fall of 19, and then had her last day, gosh, I think on the 15th or 16th of March. And so otherwise, we've really experienced the school system during COVID. So we are really looking forward to hopefully entering the next chapter of our recovery and our experience in the school system outside of or beyond kind of this most immediate several phases of COVID, to really embrace all that the district has to offer. Because what I've learned, even just in the last handful of weeks since being elected, is just how enormous the district is, and how much opportunity there is to really engage and plug in and be a part of the community.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's great. I think I just want to take a quick second while I have this opportunity. You mentioned closing the achievement gap, or closing the opportunity gap, as some folks like to call it, and really reducing disparities. And I did think that that might be a nice moment to mention that the legislature has been hard at work of late, working toward making some changes to how education funds work in the state, specifically around student weights, which is money that's allotted to different groups of students. In this particular case, students who live in rural communities, students who live in poverty, and also English language learners. And thanks to both the House and the Senate, S-287 has been passed, and we're likely to see a shift in terms of how money is distributed to our district, to the districts around us, and hopefully we will see some writings of some historical wrongs that have had a negative impact on our district. So I'm really excited and hopeful that implementing the weights as they were determined or they should be in the study of 2019, I'm really hopeful that that's going to change the landscape for us, and that we will be able to really deliver some great student outcomes in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did just want to bring that up.
Thanks. Well, and that's a great moment for me to acknowledge your leadership in this conversation, and leadership of the coalition that you've been working in partnership with so many school board commissioners across the state, as well as superintendents. So thank you for that. And also thank you to our state and local officials for keeping this conversation moving in the right direction. It's been a lot of hard work, and I think a true testament to the power of advocacy. So well done.
So true, so true. Yeah, the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity was huge, and it was good for me just because, having worked in education for the last 30 years and having worked in various districts around the state, I experienced it firsthand. I saw some of the inequities, and so I was able to speak to that, and I think that was helpful in getting folks to understand that it's not the same in this district versus that district. There are some real differences. So that was good. That was helpful. Let's see. You talked a little bit about what you like most about the Burlington School District. What do you think, what are the district's biggest challenges, and how do you think you can help?
That's a big question, and certainly as someone who's very new to the conversation, I do have a lot to learn, and so I want to acknowledge that I am consuming a lot of information and really just joining so many conversations that are already in progress. I think the most immediate challenge that I see for us is in supporting the development of the financing plan for our bond vote to be successful in November. And so really we know that we have an opportunity to bring something fiscally responsible and palatable to the taxpayers, and that's going to involve partnership from our state and federal partners. Certainly we have an idea about introducing some private philanthropy, but we really need our state and federal partners to step up as well, so that so that we can be successful in November. We have to move this conversation forward. We've got to be successful with a bond vote. And I think that's that's what's on all of our minds in this moment.
Absolutely. So true. So true. With that in mind, you brought up the bond vote, you brought up the challenge of the tech center in the high school. So it seems like a good opportunity to talk about this call to action. I think you said CTA, or you called it I love your, I love it when you do that. All right, CTA, call to action, which is something that I think we want to do in our North Avenue News articles, but as well when we're sitting here. So it's a great opportunity for me to bring up at least two that I can think of, and you might have some more as well, Lucia. One being really asking the citizens of Burlington, the folks who live in our community, and frankly, it would behoove everyone in the state to do this, to reach out to the legislature, reach out to the governor, and ask for money put aside for PCB remediation. As you know, every school in the state at some point is going to be tested for PCBs. We don't know what we're going to uncover, but it's likely that there will be schools that will have PCB levels over the threshold that has been set by the state. So there will be cleanup that is needed, there will be remediation that's needed, so it's important that we have that money set aside. I believe the latest figure is somewhere around $41 million that will be possibly needed for cleanup and remediation. So folks, if you can, reach out to your legislature, your legislators, talk to the governor and really stress the importance of putting money aside for PCB remediation. In that same vein, it is imperative that we all speak up to the folks, the elected officials in Montpelier, and ask about school construction aid. I believe we're one of the only states in the country that does not have school construction aid as part of our budget line item. So it's critical that we do that, because Vermont is full of buildings that are about 50 years old, 50, 60, 70 plus years old. And it is time for many of them to be rebuilt, or at the very least, renovated in some form or fashion. So those are two biggies that I wanted to bring up: construction aid and PCB remediation. I really, I know there are folks out there who are, how can I help? What can I do? Those are two things that are really, really critical at this juncture. Did you have any other calls to action that you wanted to mention?
Sure. I love the CTA. That's the Let's Grow Kids in me, for sure. We live in the land of calls to action, and so I love a good CTA at the end, or really beginning, middle, any part of the conversation. However best we can activate, especially Burlingtonians, on our behalf, it's a good move. So I think what I would just add to that, which is really kind of tethered to what you described already, is for folks to just keep an eye and an ear out on the different ways they'll be invited to engage in the conversation around BHS, BTC over the next coming months, leading up to November, but then beyond November as well. And I think, the onus is on us, as you know, and as you do real well, as commissioners, to bring the conversation out into our community. And I know that's a focus and an interest of many of us. And so I look forward to participating in that along the way as well. But to the extent that you're receiving or consuming information through this platform, through Front Porch Forum, through other means and modes of communication that are delivered to you, do keep an eye and ear out for those engagement opportunities. We're really serious about public input. And I think the more public input that we're able to receive, the more the project will meet the community's needs. So we're excited about that.
Absolutely, 100%. So now I think we can pivot a little bit. I have a couple of things that I wanted to mention, but I thought I would give you an opportunity to ask me any questions that you might have.
Well, that is such a luxury. Of course, the first question that comes to mind, given that you have been serving in this capacity for a number of years now, is what advice or guidance you might have to someone like me who's brand new to the conversation. I don't know if it's something you wish you knew when you started, or something that you've been so interested to learn, or just general advice, guidance. I welcome.
Okay, wow, thank you. Yeah, and I wanted to just share some appreciation with you. It's very refreshing how open you are to learning and how you are quick to acknowledge that you have learning to do, and that's much appreciated because that's not always the case. And yeah, it's really refreshing. Thank you. I would just say one of the hardest things about being on the school board has to do with restraint. And this could be with any board, but I'm speaking to my experience on the school board. There's a lot of restraint. When you're in a meeting, as you know, there's not a lot of back and forth with the public. It's mostly just we're talking, and then during public comment, the public speaks. We do have the opportunity to have a board reflection, but it's really not like a back and forth conversation. So there is definitely some restraint, and there's a lot of listening. We do a lot of listening to our other fellow commissioners, to the public, and then also to the superintendent and members of his cabinet who show up to meetings. So that's a biggie. I think the other one is just has to do with, you want to jump in and you want to get your hands dirty and you want to get to work, and yet being on a board sometimes means, not acting. As you know, I wrote an article in the North Avenue News, and I've spoken a lot about this, but really our job is more in terms of governance. We're trustees, right? We're not operational. So our focus really is on hiring and evaluating the superintendent, overseeing the budget, creating a mission and a vision for the school district, as well as supporting the superintendent and helping to set policy. So all of these sort of like high-level activities and attitudes that aren't necessarily, in the weeds all the time. I guess those are reflections that I would have on the position. Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, and it's so helpful. I have been reflecting a lot, again, just in the first handful of weeks, just about what it means to navigate a new organization and a new group of people and how to work effectively together. And so I appreciate kind of your pointers in that space. It's good advice. Thank you.
Yes, you're absolutely welcome. And I'm sure you're going to have some advice for me too. So in the not too distant future. Again, I just wanted to welcome folks to call in if they wanted to call and speak to me or to Lucia this evening. The phones have been quiet, which is not a bad thing, but we're here and would welcome a phone call if anyone wants to call in. I did want to mention, as we're kind of starting to wrap up a little bit here, that last week was an important week in this school district. It was Teacher Appreciation Week. And, you can't open a magazine or a news show without hearing about the Great Resignation and folks leaving various careers, either retiring early or quitting. And then, of course, the teaching profession is really is in the spotlight. A lot of teachers are sharing sort of dissatisfaction with their jobs at this juncture. So I just think personally it's just a great opportunity to acknowledge our amazing educators in the Burlington School District. We have some fantastic teachers and support staff, and I just, I'm so grateful, along with everyone else on the board, so grateful with everything that they do, and it's just happy to take a moment to say thank you, and I hope that you stay with us and continue to do the great work that you do. I don't know if you had anything to add.
No, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And it is so important to take a moment to recognize and participate in this National Teacher Appreciation time, but also to recognize that, especially for those of us with parents, but really you don't even need to have children to be able to appreciate our educators. But I can't imagine what my life would have been like without the support from our teaching staff, especially within the Champlain Elementary School, where I'm most intimately familiar as a parent, and of course caregivers and educators, beginning at birth and beyond K-12. It's really important work, and we're all better we're better people because of them. And so thank you to all of our teachers, and especially the staff at as part of Burlington School District.
Yeah, absolutely. Also Friday, someone pointed out to me that Friday was Food Service Employee Day, which is just, again, an opportunity to shine the spotlight on some folks who are often very much behind the scenes, but doing incredibly important work, feeding our kids, nourishing our kids. It's just huge, and I think it's a hard job, and especially when we pivoted to online learning there for a while. Our food service team was just brilliant, bagging food, creating to-go meals for students, and then delivering them and setting up various spots throughout the city for folks to come and get their meals. Just a big shout out to all of those folks as well. Yeah, so I think we only have a couple of minutes, but is there any last thoughts that you have, or anything else that you would like to share or ask me as we start wrapping up?
Gosh, I feel like I should have some questions prepared. I should have thought about that a little bit more. This has been really fun. I'm looking forward to, well, actually, I will mention, just because there are 3 other brand new school board commissioners as well who were elected in March, and I am especially excited to be joining them as a cohort of new board members. There are 4 of us on a board of 12 who are brand new as of March, and I think what's especially exciting about our 3 new colleagues, is that they're former students of the Burlington School District, and so we'll bring with them a lived experience and a fresh perspective on what it's been like to move through the Burlington School District as students, and their families' experience moving through the district. So we really have a pretty incredible opportunity to draw in those perspectives and that experience throughout all of our work, and including our BHS BTC project, with some real, very recent experience and perspectives as Burlington High School students. It's quite incredible that they are stepping up in this capacity to serve their community, and I'm excited to know them and to be working with them.
Yeah, I just want to echo. I think, these 3 former students are just absolute superstars. I remember Aquilas in particular. He graduated around the same time as my son, and he was just a student that was kind of everywhere. I would be at a play, there he was. I'd go to a concert, there he was, involved in so many things. So I was really pleased to see his name on the when we went to vote, have his name on the ballot. That was absolutely brilliant. So I guess, in conclusion, as we're wrapping up today, I want to highlight one more time the heavy lift that we have ahead of us. I want to thank the folks who have been showing up at our board meetings and sharing their views. I may not always agree with them, but I really respect folks who take the time to show up and to give us feedback. And I think we're gonna need more of that. And I hope that folks can really rally together and either show up to our board meetings. And if you can't make it in person, you can always Zoom in. That is something that we're offering. And I also hope that if folks can't do that, that they either show up to an MPA, because we're almost always presenting at MPAs, as you know, or at the very least send us an email or try to reach out in that regard virtually. So yeah, do you have any last thoughts?
No, absolutely. This has been really fun. I appreciate the conversation with you. It's another fun way to get to know you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve.
Oh, thank you, Lucia. It's been great having you. And as I said, I really respect your openness and willingness to learn. I look forward to bringing on Faiza, Aquilas, and Saja in the next couple of months. I hope that they will be able to show up. And I'll introduce them as I did with you, Lucia. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah.